Okay, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. I hope that you hear me
وعليكم
well.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
مستر جمال حبيبي مساء الفل.
أهلا يا سمسم، أخبارك؟ كل سنة وأنت طيب يا
الله
حبيبي.
يوفقك طيب بالصحة والسلامة، ربنا يخليك يا مستر.
ازيك يا مستر اسلام؟
حبيبي مستر محمد، ازي حضرتك؟ صوت كويس يا جماعة؟
انت داخل متخفي يا غمريني؟
عيب يا
ازيك
وكيل.
مستر اسلام؟ عامل ايه؟ تمام.
طب كويس.
لازم نكون موجودين معاك يا ريس،
داخل
أي
متخفي.
مكان الوكيل
عملت فيها
وإسلام
شيء
فيه
داخل
يكون موجودين يا
متخفي
ريس.
نضاره.
نورنا يا مستر جمال دايما.
ربنا يخليك يا سمسم، توفيق يا حبيبي دايما يا
يا
رب.
رب إن شاء
مستر
الله.
غمريني، مستر محمد الوكيل، اخباركم؟
الله يكرمك.
أهلا يا ونيك من نجوم، أخبارك يا هيما؟
اخبارك يا مستر اسلام، كيفك؟
حبيبي يا مستر، الحمد لله ربنا يخليك يا مستر.
مستر
حبيبي
إبراهيم.
اخبارك؟
الحمد لله.
اخبارك يا مستر وكيل؟
ازيك يا هيما؟
حبيبي اخبارك؟ مستر اسلام طبعا ما يعرفنيش اصلا.
لا بالسمع، سمع خير طبعا.
حبيبي يا مستر اسلام،
حبيبي
معك
يا
مستر ابراهيم العبد.
اهلا وسهلا،
يا
عارفك يا
حبيبي،
مستر
معك
طبعا،
بس
ربنا
سامع
يخليك،
عنك
تشرفت.
ابراهيم مننا اكيد.
حبيبي تسلم يا حبيبي، تسلم.
Okay,
معاكم.
we will just wait a couple of minutes for others to join us. Okay.
Take your time, no problem.
اوكي.
اخبارك يا مستر محمد ابو ياسين؟
الحمد لله. ازيك يا مستر ابراهيم؟ ازيك يا مستر ابراهيم؟ ازيك يا ريس؟
حبيبي ازيك يا مستر جمال ابو محمد؟
ربنا يبارك لك يا هيما، تسلم يا نجم والله.
اخبارك عامل ايه؟ كله تمام؟
والله الحمد لله بخير والله. فرصة سعيدة إن إسلام جمعنا النهاردة والله. إسلام والله
منور
كتر
يا
خير
إبراهيم.
والله.
ربنا يخليك
مين
مستر
مع
جمال.
مستر شريف؟
رامي معاك. رامي يا
ازيك يا رامي؟ اخبارك؟ ازيك يا رامي؟
حبيبي.
اخبارك يا
ايه
حبيبي؟
يا فنان، عامل ايه؟
تمام والله يا حبيب قلبي. اخبارك؟
حبيبي كل سنه وانت طيب.
اخبارك يا تمام؟ كل سنه وانت طيب يا حبيبي، كل سنه وانت طيب.
Okay, now I think this is great. We have 14 in the group in the room now. We will start in order not to waste your time. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna just mute you all now. Okay. As you know that today's session is about how to teach vocabulary. And this is the table of content. This is what you're gonna be talking about today. And if anyone is going to have this presentation, actually all the contents here are hyperlinked. So when you just click on any one of these elements, it will just immediately direct you to the slide. For example, if we want to see what the meaning of general overview, so once you click on general overview, it will just immediately direct you there, okay? Okay, now in order to start, we have a very important question. And please, if you have the chat box, you can just answer in the chat box, okay? We have a very important question today, which is why should we teach vocabulary? Okay, if anyone wants to share with me his ideas, you can raise your hand. Okay? Why should we teach vocabulary? Why is it so important to teach your students vocabulary? Okay, now let's see this statement here. Vocabulary at age 4 is the best predictor of achievement at age 16, out of all measures yet studied. What do you think about this statement? Actually, this statement tells you why we should actually teach our students. Okay, I will unmute you all now, just hold a second. Okay, what do you think about this statement, guys? Mr. Rami?
Mr. Islam,
Okay. Yes.
we'd like to
Mr. Muhammad.
comment on why we should teach students
Okay, just hold a
vocabulary.
second, Mr. Muhammad. Hold a second. Hold a second.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Muhammad, I can hear you. Yes.
You asked a question at the beginning of this session about why should we teach vocabulary.
Yes.
I think teaching vocabulary is one of the most important things that we should pay attention to for our students, because without this vocabulary, students cannot understand, cannot communicate. I think vocabulary should be taught before teaching students reading, before teaching students listening, because this vocabulary help them understand what they are going to read, what they are going to listen. It can help them answer questions if there are
Excellent.
any. And so I think vocabulary is one of the main elements of a language.
Excellent. I can't agree more. Actually, as you have just said now, there is a big relationship between vocabulary and communication. Okay.
Yeah.
And here, this statement tells you that there is a big relationship also between the amount or the size of vocabulary at certain age and the mental health of students in the future. Because
Yeah.
if in the future, if students do not have enough amount of vocabulary, they will be struggling with communication. They will not be able to communicate with others. Okay.
I agree with you, Islam. Some students have ideas, but they do not know how to communicate them
Yes.
to their peers or to their teachers. So without vocabulary, they will not be able to express themselves and tell us what they want to say and so on. So I totally also agree with you. This is very, very important for creating a kind of, or a channel of communication between students and teacher, and any kind, and also it will help them in creating or building their mental health.
Excellent. Totally right. Okay, let's see here the following slide. So this slide here says researchers have proved that there is a correlation between the vocabulary size at certain age and the cognitive or mental development of learners in the future. So the more vocabulary they have in early ages, the better they will be in the future. Here, we will start now talking about our session. This is just a general overview about teaching English in general, okay? We have two categories in teaching English. We are teaching language system and we are teaching language skills. In language systems, we have grammar, vocabulary, and function. In language skills, we have two types of skills, receptive and productive. So when talking about vocabulary, this means that we are talking about language system. So if you're talking about language system, this means that you are supposed to be following a specific teaching framework, okay? Because language system has its own unique framework, and the same thing for language skills. It has a totally different framework. So when we come to talk about teaching frameworks for language system, we have three things. We have three things. We have TTT, PPP, and TBL. TTT means test, teach, test. PPP, present, practice, produce, and the last one is text-based learning. And for your information, text-based learning is the most commonly used among teachers and in our books, in our curriculum. Okay, so how teachers, when they plan their lessons, will be able to use these kind of frameworks? You will not use them in one lesson. No, you can just choose one of them, okay, to be your framework in planning your lesson. So let's see here, test, teach, test. We will start talking about, okay, we will mention some kind of, methodological terms. So if you have just the paper and pen, you can write down these terms because they are very important. So in test, teach, test, teachers, after they lead the students into the lesson and they engage them into the lesson, they have to start with a very short exercise in order to evaluate their learners' schemata. Learners' schemata. Do you have any idea about what does the word schemata mean? You can write this in the chat bar. Okay, Mr. Rami, if you want to join us, you can just raise your hand because when I unmuted everyone, it was a little bit noisy. Okay, so what do you think the meaning of schemata is? Okay, yes. Actually, yeah, it's the background, the informational background of students, the prior knowledge of students. So as a teacher, I need to know what my students already know in order to start building over this. Okay, so when you use this short exercise for, you need to know what kind of vocabulary or what kind of words that they know. You can just make a very short exercise at the beginning of this, the class in order to know what they already know. This is the meaning of checking schemata. Okay, Mr. Rami, I'm gonna unmute you now. Yes.
Okay, sorry, Mr. for being late, but I just heard you.
No problem.
You were talking about the TTT, test teach test, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think here this approach concerning two kinds of assessments at the beginning, as you just mentioned, to check or to evaluate the boys and the girls' knowledge, their prior knowledge before our lesson or the task we're dealing with. And at the end, you're dealing with another assessment part to check and evaluate the process, the progress they dealt with in this session. Okay, this about the
totally
TTT,
right.
I think.
Yes, you're totally right.
Can I mention something
Okay.
concerning the previous question of this, not
Okay.
before the approaches?
Go ahead.
Last year, I was watching something on TV. An Egyptian researcher was talking about a research she has made about the number of vocab we're dealing with in Arab world and the number of vocab they got in different country. For example, she made a research in America. She said that our young boys and girls, they have vocab size that all the time they use about 300 and 400 just words. And this is a very small number they're dealing with. Comparing to the Western boys, especially the American one, they have a size of 2,000 words. So even in the younger ages, we're talking about age 4, 5, and 6, they dealt with large number of vocab. So that's why the learning vocab is very important, even from the younger ages. That's just the part to mention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rami. I agree with you. So this actually refers us back to teach test. As Mr. Rami has just said, we start with a small quiz. This is the test, just to check the schemata. And we finish or end the session with a test, which is called a controlled practice, in order to evaluate their performance. Did our student actually acquire the target language or not? And here we have the target language. The word target language means the words that they are supposed to learn in the session. Okay, and this is the abbreviation TL. TL means target language. And controlled practice, it means that the teacher designed a practice or a task in order to check the performance or the competence of his learners. Okay, it's controlled because it's, the teacher is doing this. Now here we have present PPP, present practice produce. It's somehow a kind of a traditional method. And here we are talking about that you're presenting the target language using teaching aids, something like, flashcards, pictures, videos, something of the sort. And then you move to controlled practice to check whether they are following or not, what are the problems, what they are missing. And then you finish with the production process. And this is the most important thing, the production phase, because here the students are trying as much as they can to use the target language. They are for example, they are speaking or writing using these words, but on their own, okay, in order to produce and use them effectively. So this is the very important. Now, the last one here, text-based learning, as I told you, this is the most commonly used approach, where actually when the teacher in the book has a text, and unfortunately some teachers, they just pick up these words from the text and they start to teach them in vacuum, in isolation from the text. This is totally wrong, because we students need to have some kind of contextualization. They need to see the word in context, not in isolation from the context. So the teacher here actually is exploiting the text in order to introduce the target language, and we will know later how the teacher can exploit the text. And here the teacher also can ask a just question, detailed question. Just means what? A general question, in order to prepare his students for the target language. And here he is introducing the new words implicitly. And we mean by implicitly means indirectly. Here the students have the text, and the teacher is asking them some questions on this test, and the words that they are supposed to be learning is actually mentioned in this text. So they are indirectly exposed to the words. And in order to understand this word, they need to understand the whole context. So when the teacher asks some just question or detailed questions, here the students are introduced in an indirect way to the target language. Okay. Here, we have two kinds of exposure to the vocabulary. Students can be exposed to the vocabulary explicitly or implicitly. Explicit and implicit exposure. We mean by explicit exposure, direct exposure. When the teacher tells them, okay, guys, these are the words that we are gonna be dealing with today. This is the word, this is the definition. So this is a sort of, a traditional way of exposing or introducing the words. And here it seems to be more teacher-led than student-centered. And implicit exposure here, when the teacher is trying to elicit the information from his students. So it's more student-centered. The students here are doing the job. So guys, please try as much as you can to be just a facilitator. Teachers are just facilitator. They guide students to reach the answer, to find the answer or the information. The teacher is not the only one who is dominating the whole class. He's not the only one who has the source of the information. No, students need to work in order to, in a way or another, to find the information by themselves, and the teacher is guiding them towards this target. So this is the difference between implicit and explicit exposure. So far, we talked about here the teaching framework for the language system, and we meant by language system, vocabulary, grammar, and function. And since we are talking about vocabulary, we are talking about three things: TTT, PPP, and TPL. So any teacher can use any kind of these frameworks. When you plan your lesson, you decide you are gonna use TTT, PPP, or TPL. This is up to you, okay? But actually, if you have a text, so you're gonna most commonly use TPL, okay? And we know, now we came to know what's the meaning of schemata and how important we need to tap into our students and learners' prior knowledge, because we need to build over this, not to start from the scratch, because they already know some information. So we need to actually limit and know what kind of information they already know. Okay, and here we have the present practice, produce, and text-based learning. Okay, now we have a very important step that it should be actually in all these frameworks, which is lead in. And this is very important because teachers should not jump directly into the lesson without leading and preparing their students. They need to lead them in. Okay, so what's the meaning of lead them in? Actually, you have to prepare them to the task that they are going to be doing, not to tell them, okay, these are the words of today that we have to deal with. No, And this step should just take from 3 to 5 minutes maximum, okay? Now let's see an example. Now I'm gonna ask you this question. I'll just give you just 1 minute to brainstorm with me how we can lead in this kind of lesson. Now this lesson is about the life of an animal called coyote. Okay, this is an animal which is okay. It seems like a fox or a wolf, something like that. It's in the middle between them. So if you have a text or you have a lesson, and this text, for example, is talking about coyote, the life of this animal, how are you going to lead in your students? I'm gonna give you 1 minute to brainstorm and to think. And if you want to discuss this with me, just raise your hand and I'm gonna be listening to you. Just 1 minute to think how you can lead in this the students to this lesson. Okay, we have here Mr. Ahmed. Ahmed's iPhone. Okay, yes. Mr. Ahmed, you are unmuted. Can you hear me? Okay. Mr. Auni. Okay, you are unmuted, Mister. Just hold a second. Yes, Mr. Auni.
Yes, I have an idea about just leading this topic. First of
Okay.
all, I don't know the animal, me, myself, so far now. So if, as an example, let's imagine that I know the animal. So I'm gonna just describe the animal to them and I'm gonna let them imagine. So I give them the description and they imagine which animal is this.
Excellent.
And if they come closer to this animal, if they come closer to this idea, so I tell them about the animal itself. So the name of the animal is Kyoto, as an example. So guys, who knows about Kyoto? What you know about him? Have you ever heard about the animal? So in this case, I kind of try to involve them in the topic. That's my idea.
Excellent. You are leading them, and in the same
works.
time, you are checking their prior knowledge, whether any one of these students have any information about this kind of animal. This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Auni. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Rami. I'm trying to unmute you, Mr. Rami.
All right.
Okay, yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Concerning coyotes, we might start that just mention to the boys that some animals, or most of the animals, are divided into families.
Yeah.
So we have the wolf family. So I can start with warming up or brainstorm the student's mind with the if any one of them just know these kind of families are other members concerning the wolf family, and are all of them aggressive, or are some of them tamed animals? So just from the answers, we can collect the information and just lead them into directly to the coyote's life.
Excellent. I can't agree more. Thank you very much, Mr. Rami. Okay, finally with Mr. Muhammad Sharawi. Mr. Muhammad, you are totally missed before anything.
Yes, my dear.
How are you?
Hello, Mr. Fine. So pretty good. How are you doing? Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for your great efforts and sincere efforts for keeping us tuned on time.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Concerning
Sharawi.
Kyori, this is the least that we can do for you, Mr. Stem. So concerning leading or instructing the students, we can keep them involved all the time. As you know, my dear instructor, that the picture is worth 1,000 words. So we can start the lead-in with some pictures. You know, it's very important. One of the most important things I tried before is videos. You know, so by video you will hit more than one bird with a semi-stall. First of all, you will involve the students. Okay, they will be engaged, involved, and they can learn about it.
Yes.
As Mr. Rami said before, and I don't remember our colleague before, Mr. Rami, the one that you gave him the chance to talk about that.
Yes.
He said that I can give them definitions. Mr. Aoun, I'm sorry for missing his name. So you can give them a chance by giving them some pictures, as you said before. I give them introductory definitions about the coyote and something like that. So as Mr. Rami said, we can make do a lot of things. Okay, we can give them a chance for open discussion. We can give them some pictures or photos about that, our videos. All in all, we have encouraged the students and support them for communicating with us. But I want to ask something about that. Maybe it's an information or a question. You can specify it as you like. Do you think that Leiden, the techniques that are going to be used will vary according to the stage? I mean, the grade level or the grade of students for primary, different from intermediate or the secondary, or what? Thanks again for giving me the chance.
Thank you very much, Mr.
And thank you very much. You're welcome, my dear.
To answer your question, I think as much as you can, try to be interesting in your lead-in. So this will fit with every level, all levels, because whether they are young or high levels, they need to get exposed to this the topic in an interesting way. So as much as you can, try to be interesting in your lead-in, and this depends on you as a teacher to choose the technique that suits your students. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sharawi. And here I have my own, my own perspective of how we can lead in this lesson. So I can just ask a question. Do you love cartoons? Can you mention some of them? So actually here I'm a little bit away from the text itself or the topic itself, because I'm talking about something else, something about cartoon. And they mentioned some of the cartoons that they really like. Okay, then I will show them a picture like this. Actually, this is the Roadrunner cartoon. I think some of you are familiar with it. And this happened in my class, by the way. When I just showed them this figure or this cartoon, they could easily recognize it. So actually this coyote, and the name of this animal in this cartoon was coyote. So Roadrunner and coyote. So students started to relate between this cartoon or this picture and the lesson. And then at the end, I asked them a question. What do you think that today's topic is about? So they start to say, yeah, I think we're going to talk about animals, or we're going to talk about coyote. So here the students easily started to get introduced to the lesson. I didn't jump into the lesson directly. No, students start to know what the whole topic is going to be about, and they are ready and curious and excited about it. Thank you for your contributions, guys. It was great. Now here we have MFP, and this term is very important because it's talk about the three main things that you need to focus on when you teach vocabulary. You have to focus on the meaning, you have to focus on the form, and you have to focus on the pronunciation. MFP, or we can just say MPF. Okay, they are the same. So now let's see how, as a teacher, can we deliver the meaning. So how to deliver the meaning? We have here many options. We can just use realia. And what's the meaning of realia? It's real objects. And I think you are familiar with this. We can use pictures, we can use flashcards. And here I would like to refer you back to the video I posted in the group, because this video is great because it introduced many ways of using flashcards, and they are so effective and interesting at the same time. Number 4, miming, to imitate or act. So for example, if you want to explain the meaning of smile, you can just smile to the students, use your body language, use your gestures to deliver the information, to mime. Hop, how you can teach them hop. You can jump in front of the students in order to deliver the meaning. So you can use your language, body language and gestures in order to deliver the information. Number 4, translation. And unfortunately, translation here is the first exit that some teachers, not all teachers, actually tend to use, because if the teachers are struggling with delivering the meaning of a specific word, this word might be so abstract or something of the sort, they need to use they tend to use the first language, the L1 in Arabic. Okay, so they will just translate the word into Arabic, and this is the easy way. No, we should actually, you know, to use translation in a very limited and specific situations. So if you have no other option except to use translation, you have to use this strategy, and this strategy is called sandwiching strategy. What do we mean by sandwiching? Sandwiching means you will you have now the word, you will say the meaning of this word in English, and then you will say it in Arabic, and then you will end up with English. So the Arabic word is now in between two English words. So sandwich is like the hamburger. You have here two slices of bread, and here we have the meat in the middle. So at the top, we have the English meaning, and then we will refer to the Arabic meaning, and then we will end up with the English meaning again. So they started with English, and they ended up with English. And in the middle, now they are familiar with the meaning of this word in their own language. So if you have to use translation in a very specific and limited situations. And if you have no other option, please try as much as you can to try this strategy, because it's so effective. And the last one, example sentences. We can use example sentences. The teacher can write his own examples, and he used the word in an example that he prepared beforehand. Sometimes the context in the book, if the teacher is using the book, so sometimes the context is a little bit higher than their level. So you can just pick up this word and put them in your own sentences. That seems to be, you know, a little bit easier in to guess the meaning. And the students, yes, Mr. Muhammad, context clues. And here, the students are using this skill of guessing. So they will read the sentence, guess the meaning of this word, and you start to, after giving them some time, you start to listen to their guessings. And then here you are the facilitator and the guide. Okay, you will accept some answers and you will not accept some answers, and then you will tell them the answer, and they should agree on this answer. This is how you elicit the meaning. But the examples have to be authentic. Yes, Mr. Ahmed, as much as you can, you have to be authentic. But here, if the context is above their level, how you will solve this? Try as much as you can to use your own examples in order to make the meaning a little bit clear for them. Okay. Yes, we can use examples, synonyms, antonyms, definitions. All these things can be used to deliver the meaning. Okay, so here we need to take care of 2 things or 3 things in meaning. Try as much as you can to personalize the words. What's the meaning of personalization? You know, do you remember the post that I wrote in the group when I told you that imagine that you are in an interview and the interviewer is asking you a question? Actually, this is kind of personalization. Instead of writing a general post in the group, I started to make this idea related too much to you. So now you are imagining yourself in the middle of an interview and you are asked this kind of question, how you can teach vocabulary. So this is kind of personalization. So try as much as you can to make the words related to the students. The students make up their own sentences. CSSD, yeah, it's a way of teaching vocabulary. Yes, Mr. Ibrahim, this is great. Should be related to the students themselves, yeah. So this is the meaning of personalization. The students make their own examples of the target language. And then we have to ask CCQs. What's the meaning of CCQs? This is a methodological term and very important. It means concept checking questions. Why is it important? Because some teachers, after they finish a specific part of the lesson, they ask the students this question. Do you understand? Are you following? So far, so good. Okay, these kind of questions are not measurable because definitely the answer will be yes. The students would say, yes, we understand. So how can you, as a teacher, evaluate their answer? Yes, it's a false question because it actually, it leads to nothing. It leads to nothing because it has one typical answer, which is, yes, we understand. So you need to ask some CCQs. For example, we will actually, I will explain the meaning of CCQs in the following slide, because in the following slide, we are gonna talk about Hebrew. If you remember this post of Hebrew text. Okay, now let's see here this text. Now, why did I choose Hebrew here? Actually, I want you to have some kind of practice with me, how you can deliver meaning to the students. So you are going to play the role of students, and I'm gonna play the role of the teacher. And you're not gonna play the role of any student. No, they're gonna play the role of lower achiever. So imagine now we have lower achiever students in your class. They have very limited amount of information about English. And now you have no information about Hebrew. So how can we deliver the meaning of these highlighted words here in red? This is the target language. These are the two words that we're gonna be dealing with. How can you deliver the meaning of these two words in a very unfamiliar language to students? Now we will see this practically. So please focus with me, please. Now, what I'm gonna do is, I will read this text twice. In the first time, I will read it in a very normal pace. In the second time, I will read it again, and you have to follow my mouse, the cursor of the mouse, because I will, each word will be, pronounced with the cursor. So you have to follow the movement of the mouse. So twice, I will read this text twice. And then we will discuss the two words here in red together. Okay, so are you ready? Let's start now. The first time. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. This is the first time. The second time, follow with me the words, follow the words. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Okay, so I think now you know the words. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Now I need you to use your chat box now. Now let's take the first word. The first word is hashamayim. The first word is hashamayim. Now we will break down this word. We will remove the prefix and the suffix of this word. So here we have at the end here im, this is a suffix. And here we have ha, it's a prefix. So this is, we will drop out im, it's gonna be hashama, hashama. And now I will drop out this prefix, so it's gonna be shama, shama, shama. Is this word familiar to you in Arabic? Do you have any Arabic word that sounds familiar or similar to the word shama? Please write this in your chat box. Now, yes, Mr. Ibrahim, I'm talking about the structure and delivering the meaning. Shama, shama. Write it in Arabic. Write it in Arabic because I need Arabic word, not in English. Mr. Ahmed, sama, aywa, sama, sama, as-sama. Excellent, great job. So shama in Hebrew is sama in Arabic, okay? So now we can show the students this picture. Sky. So now they understand that the word shama means sky. And this is the meaning, the sky. So they understand now the word. We broke down the word, and then we started to play on their schemata, their prior knowledge. If they know some similar words that sound similar to this word. So yeah, actually it means sama or the sky. Okay, so here we understand now the first word, hashamayim. So here im is for plural. So hashamayim, it's as-samawat, the skies. Now let's go for the second word, haaretz. Haaretz. Again, this is a prefix. We will drop it out. But the word arts, it's not familiar. So you can say, as Mr. Abdul Wakil said, we can provide a definition or something like that in order to make students elicit the meaning. So I will say, for example, the word Haaretz, it's the planet where we live. It's the planet where we live. So what's the meaning of Haaretz? Excellent. It means al-ard. Al-ard. So let's see here the picture. Earth. So this is the picture and this is the earth, the picture of the earth. Okay. Now let's go back to the text. I'm so sorry I'm not following the comments because there are too many. I will look at them after I finish this. Now I will ask a question and you will answer this question. Now, if the question is, who is the creator of Hashamayim and Haaretz? Who is the creator? For sure, Allah. Okay, which word now in this text is Allah? It sounds to be similar to Allah. Now I will read it again. Bereshit, bara, Elohim, et, Hashamayim, et, Haaretz. So which word that means Allah here? Yes, Elohim. So the answer of this question, who is the creator of Haaretz and Hashamayim? Elohim. So actually, guys, now you did a great job and you have no prior knowledge about Hebrew. So you now know the meaning of Hashamayim and you know now the meaning of Haaretz, and you answered a question on this small, short text. You gave good answer. And this is how you can deliver the meaning. You can break down the word, you can use flashcard, you can use a picture, you can play on the schemata of the students, and you can also provide a definition. So you have many ways to provide the meaning. And if your student is a low achiever, you have now a way, you have really a practical way that would really help to deliver the meaning effectively. You got the meaning now, and you have no idea about Hebrew. So if your student who is low achiever, I think he has a small amount or limited amount of information about English. Yes, Mr. Khalid, you are brilliant because you are my friends. Yeah. Okay, thank you guys. So now we know how did we use Hebrew in order to teach the meaning of a word. You did a great job. Okay, so here, I think 5 days ago, I attended a very important and informative lecture of Mr. Ahmed Ali. Mr. Ahmed Ali is a great educator. And actually, he talked about some ways, some practical ways that would really help to deliver the meaning. I think Mr. Ahmed Ali is with us here or what? Mr. Ahmed Ali is with us, yeah. Hello, Mr. Ahmed. I'm so happy and honored to have you here in the session. Now, Mr. Ahmed talked about many ways, but actually I just picked up these two ways or two techniques that would really help to deliver the meaning. We have fan and pick, and we have quiz, trade. Fan and pick, and we have quiz, trade. So fan and pick, actually, you're supposed to have 4 students in your group. One student has cards, and the others, let's say student A or student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4. Student 1 has the cards. Student 2 will choose one of the cards, and student 2 will ask student 3 a question. Student 3 is supposed to answer this question. Student number 4 is supposed to comment whether the answer of question of number 3 is right or wrong. This is turn 1. And then they will swap. So student number 2 will actually have the cards, and student number 1 will pick the card. He will ask student number 4, and number 3 will comment on number 4. So here we have some kind of a circle. And if you want to refer back to this, here we have this this link here. This video. Hold a second. It's not hyper. So we can post it here. You can watch with me this video, a very short video. So here we have 4 students. Person 1 holds out the cards and says pick the card. Person 2 or student 2 will pick the card. Student 3 will answer the question after the student number 2 will ask. Student number 4 will paraphrase or comment on this, and then they will swap. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, this is, a very short video. I know maybe there is no sound. I will actually post these 2 videos in the group so that you can have easily access to them. And then we have here, number 2, we have quiz trait. Here, maybe 2 students will have cards, the student number 1 and student number 2. Student number 1 will have a card and he will ask student number 2 a question. Student number 2 will answer. And after student number 2 answers, he will ask student number 1 about the question, his question. Then after they both answer the questions, they have to trade. What the meaning of trade? To exchange their cards. And after they exchange their card, they have to look up for other participants. So they will search for any other student to share the same information with them, to ask these questions. Okay? So they are very brilliant ways to check the meaning. I will post these 2 videos in the group so that you can watch them at any time. And thanks again for Mr. Ahmed Ali, because I didn't know these 2 techniques before. Okay. Here we have the form. We will talk about the form. After you deliver the meaning, you can write down the word. So write down the words on the board so that learners can easily get familiar with the spelling and part of speech. So, and also the pronunciation, guys. So here, for example, this is the word communication. This is the word. And here we have the part of speech, it's a noun. And you can provide the transcription of this word to get your student a little bit familiar with the transcription. I don't recommend this for, lower grades, maybe for higher grades, but they are supposed to be exposed to the transcription of the word. So here they have the form, they have the part of speech, and they have the spelling for sure of the word. And here they have the pronunciation or the transcription, phonetic transcription of the word. Here we have also some kind of practice. You can practice the form with them using this activity, word search exercise. Word search exercise. Okay. Okay, Mr. Khalid, thank you very much. I was honored to have you. Thank you very much, Mr. Khalid. Here we have word search. You can here have this task, and the students will have these all letters not in this order, and they have to search for the words that the target language that they have taken with you. They have to search for these words here in this task. And I'm so happy to tell you that we have some kind of websites that would enable you to make or tailor your exercise. And this is the website. This this website. You can, I will put it in the group. Once you click on this website, you will ask you to write the name of the lesson, and you write down the words, okay, and how many rows and columns do you need. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns and 6 rows. So you can tailor your own exercise in order to evaluate the form of how students understand the form or the spelling of the words. So I will post this this website on the group, okay? Here and then here we can have something called listen and underline. You can just say the word, and you can give them this exercise of they have the words in front of them, and you will say the word and they underline. I think the students should have been told about the samples somehow, not all the samples for sure, but they have to be exposed. They have to know that there's something called phonetics. There is something called the sounds of the words. It's not just letters, okay? So they need to have this kind of information, and it will not take, you know, so much time from you to just explain to them what's the schwa, what is the cha sound. It will not take so much time because this is not your main focus, Mr. Ibrahim. But this is just, you know, subsidiary aim for you to fill the gaps in their minds. Here, the listen and underline, they have the list of the words, and you can just say the word and they underline the word that you say. So they will search and underline. So here you are now testing the form, okay? Here, the pronunciation, you can easily do 2 things, model and drill. Model means to say the word in front of them. You can say the word 2 times or 3 times, and they will not say after you. They have to listen to your own model of pronunciation. So here, communication, for example, you will say the word communication. Communication for 2 times or 3 times. And then students need to drill. What's the meaning of drilling? What is the meaning of drilling, guys? Excellent. Repeating. Say back. Excellent. So this is the meaning of drill. They have to say after the teacher. And we have 2 ways of drilling, individually or chorally. You can specify a student to say after you, or you can ask the whole class to say after you. Imitation, to try out. Yeah, all these things are synonymous for the meaning of the word drill. So drilling actually is important because of 2 things. Number 1, because here now the students will practice your model of pronunciation, and in the same time, the information will move from their short-term memory into their long-term memory, okay? Because they are repeating. In order to make drilling interesting, we have 2 ways of drilling. And I think Mr. Muhammad Abdul Wakil can share this with us. The meaning, the reverse drilling and dramatic drilling. Mr. Muhammad, are you, where is Mr. Muhammad? I'm gonna mute you now. Could you please, Mr. Muhammad, tell us the meaning of reverse and dramatic drilling and how we can make drilling interesting? Because as you know, drilling is so boring. It's like a technical process. You say and the students say after you.
Yeah.
So this is somehow boring. So how can you make it interesting, and in the same time you can move these words from the short-term memory into the long-term memory? Okay.
Yes, as you mentioned, Mr. Islam, just drilling is very boring. So to add variety to this kind of activity, which is called drilling, we can use reverse drilling. For example, if we have 3 words, for example, like boy, girl, and child, I can start drilling with the first one and ask my students. For example, I'll start with boy and girl. I'll say boy, girl. Then I'll ask him to repeat in a reversed way, girl and boy.
Okay.
Then I'll add another word, girl, boy, child. Then I'll ask him to repeat in a reversed way, child, girl,
boy.
child, boy, and girl, and
Okay.
so on. This is what we call reversed drilling. If you do that, the student will exert an effort to try to remember the order, the reversed order, so that he can make it correctly. So exerting such an effort makes it easier for the student to remember these words, and makes the student's memory span gets a little longer.
Excellent.
This is for reversed drilling. For dramatic drilling, I think you can give them the words and try to and ask them to say these words in a tone that shows the emotions. For example, the word sad, I ask them to say the word in a sad tone. The word happy, to say it in a happy tone, and so on. This is what we can call dramatic drilling, to act, to make a kind of drama while saying the words.
Mr. Said now is telling us to use intonation. I think this actually works with intonation, right? Yes, right, Mr. Muhammad?
Yes, intonation is a good way to show the feelings and to show the feelings of the speaker.
Yes, rising tone or low tone. This shows happiness or sadness. Yeah.
Because if you said the word bluntly like that without showing emotion, it will confuse the listener, and it will confuse the people who are listening to you. They may get confused about the meaning. So intonation is very important thing while speaking, especially in sentences.
Yes. So it should be related to their emotion, as Mr. Muhammad Sharaw has just said now.
Yes.
So this actually
drilling related to emotions.
This is now personalization. This is what we mean by personalization, right?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad. This was great contribution. So this is how.
For giving me this.
Thank you very much. So this is how you can make your drilling more exciting. Okay. Reverse drilling or dramatic drilling. You can use either this or that. It's your own choice. Now here we have production. This is the last stage of your lesson, production, and it's the most important thing. Here now you introduce the target language, you practice the target language, and now this is the time for production. This is the time for your student to produce the target language. Okay, if you remember, we talked about skills, receptive skills and productive skills, and the productive skills are speaking or writing. So you can ask your students to make up a story using the target language. They can write this story, or they can just brainstorm the story and they start to tell each others the story using these words. Okay, so this is how you can help your student to produce the target language naturally. And actually this stage should take much time. The majority of the time should be actually given for production stage. We can ask the students using the vocabulary in, yes, actually, this is what I mean, to use these words, use the target language, the words that they learned and acquired, they have to be using them in writing a story, writing some paragraphs, or to use it in a situational conversation, and they start to speak with each other. So this will be personalized and will be so helpful, because now students will be more engaged and more involved into the lesson. And now this is your job now as a monitor. You will monitor the students. You will have a pencil or pen and paper, and you will come just next to the group of the students who are now producing this target language, and pick up their mistakes, write them. In order, after they finish, you have to check and correct these mistakes at the end. Okay, so this is how you work, and this is how your students should act. So they have to produce and you have to monitor. It's very, very, very important. Okay, now we came to the end of our session. I hope this session was actually beneficial. If now anyone has any question or any comment, you can just raise your hand. Mr. Muhammad. Okay, Mr. Muhammad. Hold a second. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Islam. Okay. I'd like to communicate my sincere appreciation for your efforts
Thank you
that
very
you
much.
had done today, and I'd like to have a comment. I'd like to give something like a summary for what you have said right now.
Yes, please.
About how to teach vocabulary. There is what can I call it? I can call it an acronym, or I can call it a sentence that summarizes all of these pieces of information that we have today. For teaching vocabulary, we can summarize it in this sentence: elephants can drink water.
Yes.
I think for E for elephants is for eliciting. Eliciting is very crucial for teaching vocabulary. And the C for can, for CCQs. The teacher should prepare well-written CCQs to check the student's understanding of the meaning of the word or the target language that he is trying to communicate to students. And the D is in drink is or represent drilling,
Yes.
as you explained, Mr. Islam. Drilling in an interesting way or exciting way. And water is for writing, which is referring, or we can call it producing the language in a kind of writing, as our colleagues mentioned, writing the new vocabulary in a sentence, in a paragraph, use it in a kind of a speaking activity, and so on. So elephants can drink water. This phrase or this sentence or short sentence summarizes the whole thing, I think.
Yes, this is the ECTW. Thank you very much. This was a great summary for the whole session. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Okay, Mr. Said.
Thank you, Mr. Sam. Thank you for your efforts.
Hold a second, Mr. Said. I'm trying to unmute you. It's not working. I don't know why. It's not working.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
Mr. Said, I can hear you. Yes.
I really appreciate your work very much, Mr. Islam. This is an inspirational, and I hope you get your own leaders coming through. So what really matters for me today is the keen center of teachers, just coming to check the work before going to the class. We spent 10 years right now teaching the upper grades, and one of the main problems, obstacles tackling me over was getting students indulged into understanding that vocabulary is not something to be taught just for memorization and so on. We are exposing them to the future because their life is going to be so academic later on.
Yeah.
And one of the main cores in some teachers feel got the experience of teaching SIT. But one of the main aspects that teachers are finding a difficulty is getting students indulged into vocabulary and context. The lexical variations are coming into different theories and expectations. So I really advise myself and all the teachers to prepare very well, because they come to really able students in the class, and they will come into comparison points because they don't check the pronunciation. They are not going to get some synonyms. So students might ask them deliberate questions to check on the teachers. So this is one of the main things that we should do. I guess the approach you're tackling today mainly relates to the primary students, if I'm not mistaken anyhow. So that's what I want to advise myself and you, that we just really check on our pronunciation, we check on our work and synonyms and anthems and so on, because we really have different variations of students in classrooms.
Yes.
And once again, I really appreciate your work and thank you very much. This has been inspirational and come to the future really positive with your positive impact zones. Thank you
very much, Mr. Said. Actually, your contribution was more than insightful. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Ridimi, who is this?
And it is Mr. Sharif.
Mr. Sharif, حبيبي Mr. ازي حضرتك? I'm so honored to have you here, Mr. Sharif.
Yeah, حبيبي Mr. Islam. يعني, thanks a lot, Mr. Islam, for this interesting and nice session. Every point you mentioned is very important and essential when teaching students new words. However, I've just one comment, which is I think don't go Arabic translation even in limited cases. Instead, you can use very, very simple language so that your students can understand you. That's just my comment. By and large, everything you mentioned is highly appreciated. Your work is very great and perfect. And also your audience are highly appreciated too. I enjoyed a lot. Everything is good today. Thanks a lot, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif. I'm very honored to have you today with me. And guys, do you have any other question before we end up this session? Any queries, questions, anything? Okay, so this is the end of our session, and really, I really appreciate having you all with me today in this session. Thank you very much for giving me your time and your effort to work with me. And I hope this session was so beneficial for you. And inshallah, we will have many future sessions concerning how to teach grammar, reading, something of the sort, inshallah. Thank you, great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rami, Mr. Abdurrahman, Mr. Abdurrakim, Mr. Shahir. Thank you very much. Thank you all. See you next time, inshallah. And as I told you, I'm gonna upload this session. And if anyone wants this presentation, maybe I can upload it on the group, and I will give you all the links that would really help you to watch the videos. Okay, so stay tuned on the group. I will upload everything after converting this session. Thank you very much, and see you later, inshallah. Goodbye.